Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the PHNX Mercury podcast. I am your host, Erika L. Day. I am joined today by my esteemed partner in crime, Stephen Pridgeon Garner. Stephen, how are you today?
I'm blessed, Erika. We saw some fun basketball earlier today. I don't know if you tapped in with it, but um it it brought out the prideful side of the country.
You could say
One of the
that.
most uniting, yeah, definitely. Especially given the times, one of the more uniting moments in recent memory, which was fun to not necessarily be a part of because I'm not with the team, nor am I in France covering, but just to kind of be a part of the moment on Twitter and social media was interesting. So that was fun. How's your day been though? How you been?
Shout out to my friend David. We were texting during the whole game, and we were both talking about how this was one of the first days in a long time that Twitter felt fun again. And it was just, like you said, super uniting and just such a fun day to be a part of. When I got home, I was talking to my mom about it, and she said, it was looking like the men were going to need Kalia Copper today. And I was like, Mom, you're not wrong. You're actually so correct. I'm so proud of you. She's come such a long way. You know what I mean? She actually referred to her as KFC, which made me even prouder.
Hey,
I'm like,
even better.
I
She
turned her into
locked
a
in.
homer. We love to see it. Yeah.
She's locked in. That's what's up. There you go.
But behind the scenes, running the X's and O's, we've got my favorite big hat guy, Eric Ruby. And I'm super excited. We haven't had Eric behind the screen in a while. So I'm pretty stoked to have our good friend, our ASUer, Sun Deviler, fellow Big 12er, Big Hatter, Eric Ruby with us today.
I'm glad
That
I'm
was
your
almost
favorite big hatter, considering all the big hatters that you know. I'm glad that I'm the number one.
Hey, Dillingham wore the hat too, you know what I mean? So he could be my
That's
favorite big
fair.
hatter.
That is fair.
And he's a cool guy. We've all established by now that there's nothing wrong with old Dilly. But anyways, yes, we're so right about how today's men's basketball game, I actually was going to talk about it for just a second, how absolutely nutso that was. It what a pleasure we have to watch the greatness unfold that we're watching with LeBron's triple double. I mean, Steph Curry, Chef Curry, whatever you want to call my guy there. I mean, they were just cooking all the way around. I was losing my mind on the forced backcourt violation from Kevin Durant. I mean, I was just going nuts. I'm sure you were too, right?
Oh yeah, there's certain games where there's moments where everybody watching, even the professionals, can take the professional face off and be a fan. And that entire 17-point comeback or whatever the number was exactly that. So needless to say, yes. And the fact that there's so much, and I mean so much, Phoenix represented talent, representing Team USA on both sides of basketball, it just makes it that much more fun. Diana Taurasi and Kevin Durant being in Phoenix as athletes at the same time playing basketball is insane. You throw Brittany Griner in the mix with that, Kalia Copper, Natasha Cloud's not playing, but you get where I'm going with that. You got Devin Booker. Like, it's a special moment. I hope that Phoenix fans in general are enjoying just being able to watch their proverbial own athletes competing for the country and not just the state or the city. It just hits different. And the fact that you have 5 representatives and technically 6 if Rebecca Allen was healthy, that's just amazing. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And we're going to get a little bit into Team Australia in just a little bit. But before we do, I just want to give a shout out to all of our friends in the comments. We got Mark, Andy, Steven. Everyone's been tapped in with us over the last couple days. Starting with yesterday's extremely exciting win over Team Nigeria. And we talked about this on Monday and how excited we were for this matchup for a lot of reasons. But ultimately, Team USA was not playing any games and they got the job done. And it was just another ridiculous performance from Asia Wilson that ultimately put USA on top. I mean, the bench also got it done as usual. There wasn't a single person on Team USA that didn't score at one point. But seriously, like, the performance we're seeing from Asia Wilson is just ridiculous.
Yes, I mean, you get to a point where you just run out of adjectives to describe Asia. She's she's just great. she's just great. And her greatness permeates from game to game, from second to second when she's on the floor. And she does everything. She just does everything and does everything exceptionally well. And then you tandemize that with Breanna Stewart, who is nothing short of everything that A'ja Wilson is, but doing things in her own way. It just makes for entirely too much for most other teams to compete with, you know? And the fact that you can have both of those players on the court and still not have Stewie be one of your top two scorers in that particular game because of how Jackie Young continues to step up to the plate, who, by the way, got the start in said game against Nigeria, the Nigerian national team, over Diana Taurasi. It just really speaks to the adaptability and the versatility that this team has. We talked a lot about the lineups and how Cheryl Reeve told me at All-Star break that she felt like the lineup versatility and the depth that they compiled was the biggest weapon that they had to put forth against opponents. We saw a little bit of that on display in that particular game. The team just has so many different ways that they can go about winning games, and teams are going to continue to throw everything under the sun up against them defensively, and they just continue to grind and figure things out with lineups and how they're approaching the game in the half court, and then on defensively, how they're going about making up for turnovers that they do concede, but also dominating on the glass. I think is the biggest way that they kind of make up for sometimes the lack of ball security that they can show on the offensive side of the ball. So this team is just a Rubik's Cube that nobody's been able to solve yet. They still have the work cut out for them over these next potential 2 games, and they have to handle their business in accordance as they have so far.
Absolutely. I'm really, really excited to talk about Team Australia. There's a lot to get to there. But before we do, Stephen actually sent me something before we started the show today. And a lot of people have asked us about the trade deadline. It's coming up August 20th. We're 12 days away. And we'd be silly to almost assume that there's going to be no movement on the Mercury, considering they had 7-day contracts before the break started. And now those 7-day contracts are obviously up. There's going to be some movement probably before the break is officially over, but then also right once the break officially ends as well. And so a lot of people have asked us about a certain Wings player named Monique Billings. And so we're going to just pull up this tweet really quick. And I'm going to let Stephen kind of talk about what we hope or could maybe expect in the coming weeks from the Wings.
Yeah, just like a quick little newser. First of all, shout out to the homie Jasmine Harper. She does a great job covering the Dallas Wings. If you don't follow her on Twitter, I would highly, highly, highly advise doing so. That being said, they had basically like a mid-season report type of media availability for the Dallas Wings, which she clearly participated in. And some of the news that was presented to everybody that was in attendance was that just clarity regarding the Dallas Wings and their roster. Obviously, they've been the most injury-hampered team in the W this season, bar none. And with that has come some hardship contract opportunities for them to sign players and extend past the threshold for players that a team can have in capacity on their roster at any given moment during the season. Now, naturally, with them having so many injuries compiled, they were able to compile multiple hardship contract scenarios, of which they were able to sign both Odyssey Sims, who, if you haven't been following the W, you know who's spent time in Dallas already before. So it was like a coming back home scenario for her, and she's been lights out since she returned. But also Monique Billings, who's a player that started for a good portion of the games when she initially was signed by the Dallas Wings, ultimately moved into a reserve role for the team, but has still been impactful. Those are 2 players that it looks like at some point the Dallas Wings are going to have to make a decision on contractually, because they will end up being over the threshold once players come back from injury, namely Satu Sabali, one of the team's best players, arguably their second best player, or really generally speaking, their second best player, they're going to be in a tough position to make a decision where either they will have to trade some of the players that they acquired, trade players on the periphery that they've signed over the season, or they'll have to ultimately cut those 2 hardship contract players that they signed, Odyssey Sims and Monique Billings, 2 veterans that have really helped to kind of help as much as they possibly could in keeping them afloat this season amidst the injury adversity that they've seen. So like Erika just said, whether it's the Phoenix Mercury front or external to the Mercury, there will be a lot of wheeling and dealing going on over this next week and some change prior to the trade deadline and other deadlines coming up as we get to the home stretch of the regular season.
And before we go any further, we got a super chat from Tyler, who's always throwing me under the bus in these super chats. Luckily, today is not one where he's bringing up Dylan Brooks. He says, how we feeling about Angels Reebok line? Much love, and much love to you, Tyler. Shout out to you for always tapping in with us. I am obsessed with it. How's my guy up in Chicago feel?
I love it. I really do. My only issue with it is the publicity part of it. Reebok, I'm not going to say that I know how to do your job. You all have one of the most polarizing culture staple type of figures in sports history. Dramatic pause. In case anybody didn't know, I wanted the wheel to spin for them. Allen Iverson in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s, as the staple of your brand. Fast forward to the late 2020s, mid 2020s, you have Angel Reese. And there's just a requisite level of attention that should be involved with the release of anything under your brand pertaining to one Angel Reese. You have to capitalize on the moment for one, but also it's Angel freaking Reese. Like that, you don't have to do much because she will naturally pub her own stuff just because of how polarizing of a figure she is in the climate of today's professional athletes. But at the same time, even the slightest bit of a push in the back,
Can we get a billboard?
It's just gonna send it like a rocket up to space, and that's how quickly it's gonna send. Just like she has in terms of being above average and really just kind of throwing off all of the naysayers who said that she wouldn't last in a W or whatever. It will just rapidly ascend as quickly as she has to integrating herself to the W. Like, you have to really nail these things. Now, I'm not saying they don't have something in the works because I'm almost positive they do. But I just feel like if this news is breaking, it has to come with some other sort of publicity, whether it be like that'd be like a little commercial with her in it, or like you said, billboards, something in addition to something else, because this is not a regular basketball player that you have that's representing your brand. It's Angel freaking Reese.
One of the things I remember the most about this past basketball year we've had is Cameron Brink getting her billboard when she first signed with New Balance, and how excited the community as a whole was for her in that moment and seeing that billboard. And like, it really put New Balance in good graces with all W fans, and Reebok just needs to do just a smidgen and it would go such a long way.
That's it. Again, not unlike Cameron, Angel is a player that doesn't need too much of a push just because people are going to gravitate to them because of who they are, what they stand for, the relatability between people that are fans or supporters and the actual beings that they are. Like, there's just so much that naturally comes with them. You have to put the cherry on top of that and really kick that across the finish line in a loud way. They deserve it for their play and for the people that they are. And I expect for it to come at some point, but I would like to have seen it come in conjunction with the news being broken. That's just my biggest kind of gripe with it. But as far as the shoe itself, I mean, it's Angel. It's dope. It's fire. Kids are going to want to wear it. Grown women are going to want to wear it. I'm pretty sure Big Lotto is going to be having a pair or two on in music videos, walking around doing her thing. Cardi B might have some on too. Like, that's the type of reach you're playing with when you have a player like Angel Reese that's under your brand's umbrella. Don't play with that fire. Let that fire do what it does.
And David, last question on the whole topic. David in the comments says, do you think Reebok is a good fit for Angel? Me personally, I do. I've thought that since the beginning. I felt like it was just kind of fit hand in hand, and it already fit her brand before she got there, and she just kind of slid in, and it worked really well for her, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I feel like she's a different type of star that radiates uniquely. And I think with that comes a unique opportunity with Reebok to kind of bring their basketball brand back up to prominence like it was, like I mentioned, in the early 2000s with Allen Iverson. So I think it's a unique opportunity, and it's a great one for her to be kind of the ring bearer and kind of bringing that back. So, yeah, I love it for her. I think it's a perfect type of match in terms of logistics. But if we could get to one more quick thing before we transition to more basketball conversation. Talking about Monique Billings, We mentioned early in the season when she was released by Los Angeles Sparks that she would be the perfect type of player for the Phoenix Mercury to pick up. And we had like a nice little 7 to 10 minute conversation for anybody that wants to go all the way back to maybe our third or second episode of the season, just kind of speaking to the news and type of pieces that could be added to this team to help make it more whole. Another name, I'm not breaking any news in any capacity. I'm not trying to even, act like I am. It's just a basketball thought that came to mind. I've been kind of meditating on it for a week or two now, and it just rings louder and louder as she continues to make things happen with France, a team that Team USA might potentially see in the gold medal round. Gabby Williams is a player. I don't know. I have to do more detail in terms of looking up if she's even eligible to play because of all of the different CBA nuances that came over the last couple of seasons with prioritization and all of that fun stuff, to which we heard Satu Sabali after the game against the Germany national team speak to why she sees that it could be a positive for the stateside players, but at the same time, it's kind of a conflict of interest for players who do have overseas ties, which a handful of prominent players that have come through the W have had over the last handful of seasons, and she made some great points. I'll link that to Twitter and I'll shoot it to Erika so that she can send this interview I'm speaking to the Discord so people can kind of check it out and glean for themselves. However, Gabby Williams is a player that forewent her time here with team or here in the States to go represent her national team with the Olympics and to stay eligible through FIBA games and whatnot. I don't know if she'll be available. I believe she is post-Olympic break. But if Matt Ishbia had another card, another big joker to pull out of his back pocket to play, to bring more talent to the Phoenix Mercury, adding in someone the likes of Gabby Williams to everything that's already been established, to the identity that this team already has, and to address things that they need in a reserve role would be a grand slam on the margins. And I think it's something that will really push this team to a different level than they've even shown that they could reach already this season. It would insulate them in a different way, and it would give them the type of change of pace piece that they really have been kind of searching for in a reserve role. And honestly, with Rebecca Allen's return kind of being a gray area due to the significance of the hamstring injury she sustained, I think having Gabby Williams to throw into the mix before Allen returns and to have once she does return would truly be a piece that helps to kind of push them a little bit forward and give them some juice down this home stretch heading into the playoffs.
From a quick skim of an ESPN article, it looks like Gabby Williams is ineligible for this year, but she does say verbatim, I'll be back in 2025. So she's coming for hers, and hopefully she comes somewhere near the Valley.
Well, if she can't be attained this season, then she would be a big-time get in free agency or going forward for Matt Ishbia and company to keep on their radar, because that's the type of player that this team is going to need outside of maybe one more front court piece.
Absolutely. Well, moving on to a little look ahead to tomorrow to Team USA's game against Australia. I'm really excited for this game. Australia has been kind of rocky in this whole Olympics so far. They've had some big losses and some big wins, like against France in apparently the biggest attended game in all of Europe, women's basketball, which is a pretty big deal. But that being said, they're extremely well coached. They have a head coach we're really familiar here in the Valley, Sandy Brondello, out of the New York Liberty, who coached the Phoenix Mercury to a championship in 2014. She knows what she's doing, and she knows how to win big games. Let's just start there.
Yeah, Sandy is a extremely decorated head coach, and she's a coach that knows how to coach some of the top end talents, but she's also a coach that understands how to get close to, if not the absolute most, out of the players that she might have on any given roster. And you speak to that particular piece, and you look at the type of players that she has on her roster with the Opals in Australia representing their native country. I'm just run down the list. Some of these names should ring a bell. Some of these names will ring a louder bell. Other names will kind of bring back some memories that you might wish was still with the Phoenix Mercury, but we're going to kind of run down the roster just for clarity and identification purposes. Jade Melbourne, Christy Wallace, Stephanie Talbot, Tess Madigan, Alana Smith, Ezzie McBagor, Marina Tolo, Kayla George, Amy Atwell, Isabel Borlassi, Lauren Jackson, Sammy Wickham. These are the players that she's coaching in these Olympics. And obviously you can throw Rebecca Allen in the mix, though she's not actually, participating in terms of playing. But you see some names that are rather loud on that roster. And they're making some things shake. They have the continuity piece. They have the creativity. They have versatility with their roster. They have a player in Ezzie McBagor who deserves a lot more attention stateside as a defensive player of the year candidate. I don't know if she'll win that per se because she has players like obviously Nneka Ogwumike on her roster that can stake some claim on why they've been so good defensively, but she's been equally, if not a little bit more of a piece that's been more important to that team. Nonetheless, you just kind of look up and down that roster. They have another player in Alana Smith who might not necessarily get DPOY attention for similar reasons to Eddie, with the fact that she has Nafisa Collier on her team. But both of those two players are just as important as the players that might be deemed better than them for that particular rosters. And they have them on one team. And there's just a ton of versatility that comes with that. We talked about everything that the Belgian national team would be able to put forth in terms of challenging the front court pieces for Team USA. It's going to be a little different because neither one of the two players that I just mentioned are Emma Mieseman in terms of the offensive player that she is. However, the versatility that those two provide defensively can replicate some of the impact that Emma's play on offense does, and even Emma's play defensively as well. And it's going to be, I think that's going to be where this game is determined. If Team USA can figure out how to continue with their front court dominance against this team and the Australian national team, I think that's the outlet to winning this game. Like I said, they do a lot of different things in terms of schemes and their versatility between those two in particular. And that's going to be the outlet for them to win this game. And naturally, that's the strong suit of Team USA. So it's almost like strength on strength. And the last part is going to be for them to try to neutralize the three-point line as much as possible because of all the names that I just mentioned, they got a couple snipers, including Ezzie McBagor and Alana Smith being able to take it from beyond the arc, provide 5-out spacing elements, and make defenders pay if they're not out on time in terms of closeout. So that's going to be kind of a couple of things to look for in this particular matchup coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, and Kayla George has actually been huge for them coming down the stretch. And if you watched the WNBA finals last year, we're all familiar with Kayla George and how good she can be. And she is doing just that for Team Australia. She's put up some big numbers from three so far, and I expect to see her do just that again tomorrow.
Yep. And you better believe there's going to be a little bit more switching involved for Team USA defensively. We talked about them cycling through coverages and figuring out how to defend and score against teams over the course of Olympic play. That's going to be something I feel like they need to lean into a little bit more in tomorrow's matchup with the Opals, with their switching and just being able to neutralize the three-point line while also being able to keep themselves out of rotation. Because one thing that the Opals also do outside of playing to their versatility and just being able to shoot the three ball, they're able to get teams in rotation fairly well with their ball movement as well. So, and Sandy, as anybody that's a Phoenix Mercury fan knows, is as creative as it gets with plays in terms of actions created from the coaching standpoint and being able to put players in positions and take advantage of things that she catches on in terms of trends over the course of games. So it's going to be a fun battle through and through from head coach to head coach to the front court pieces to guard play. It's going to be a fun game. And needless to say, the stakes can only get but so much higher than the semifinals leading up to a potential opportunity to have some claim in the gold medal matchup coming up on Sunday.
I'm laughing at Mark's comment. USA and not stopping threes name a more iconic duo, especially considering just some of the ridiculous things we saw go in the hoop today. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell?
And what Team USA is going to do is get everybody's best shot every single time. So needless to say, they'll be ready for it. And then let the chips fall where they may and kind of see how things fall out once it gets a little closer to the finish line. But it's definitely going to be a good game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and big shouts to Mark in the chat. He's hopping in from his dance competition, and it looks like he won, and he's moving on to round 2. So we have to give Mark a big ass shout out here. Go off, Mark, aka Bread. Big fan of you. You're a big fan of us. You know, we got to return the favor. And you know where everyone can see Brett and myself and Steven in just a little less than 3 weeks
That's
is
a good
the
question.
Phoenix. Yeah, it is, right? I was thinking the same thing. It's the PHNX Mercury takeover. Like I said, a little less than 3 weeks from today on Monday, August the 26th. The Phoenix Mercury are taking on the New York Liberty, and we are going to do a little pregame activity, you know, beveraginos, some light snacking at the Desmond prior to the game, and then we'll waltz on over to the Footprint Center together, check on in, get to our seats, and then root for the Mercury. Word on the street is Steven and I are going to be barking a few times, so all I have to
Huh?
say is be there or be
I was
square.
not told. I was not
No,
made
we
aware of
discussed
this.
this. We discussed this the last time you were here.
I don't recall.
I recall us talking about the spelling of dog in regards to Natasha Cloud and how the X Factor has an opportunity to bark every time that she does something good and they miss it. And so it's our job to start the barking so that way when we're not there, the barking continues.
Okay, we'll see about that one.
He's almost convinced you guys. He is almost convinced. That being said, though, again, be there or be square. Go to gophnx.com. While you're there, become a diehard. Join us in the Discord chat. Get your free shirt or your free hat. Get a membership card, a discount on all the fun events that PHNX does. Basically, it's just your one-way ticket to a good time. So, like I said, while you're buying your PHNX diehard takeover ticket, you can just become a diehard while you're at it. It's a 2-for-1. Kill two birds with one stone type of situation. My mom in the comments says, Steven doesn't seem like a barker. You know, I would agree with you, but I think that I could convince him if I was in a good enough mood, you know?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see when that time comes. But your mom was right. I'm definitely not a barker.
That's all right. We're going to make it happen, you guys. That being said, though, I'm really, really excited for today. I've been excited for today's episode all week just because it's been the Olympics. I'm not going to lie. It's been kind of boring for Erika. As much fun as she has researching international basketball, she really misses the Footprint Center, and she's been looking for something to really scratch this itch that she's had because, again, she's just been bored. And I woke up this morning, I texted Steven, I said, Steven, can we please do a snake draft? I've been silently begging in my own head to do one since the beginning of our show. And since we're on this little break, we have the perfect opportunity to do one. And you know, Steven's one for competition. And so
Always.
we wanted to make it mean
Always.
something. And
Mhm.
personally, I've been thinking about how we could make it mean more all day because we're going to be drafting our starting 5 out of current WNBA players. And I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to be tracking these 5 that we both draft and see who has the most fantasy points at the end of the year. And I'm not going to include anything from the first half of the season, only the second half. And at the end, we'll get to see who wins. So not only are you guys going to get to vote today on who has the best draft, but then also in a month and a half, we're going to get to see who really has the best draft. So I'm really excited.
Let's do it.
And, you know, Steven, I also texted Steven. I said, Steven, I think you should pick first. You know, you're older, and I just feel like that's like the best way to go.
Time out. I don't need no AARP benefits. I'm not old. Better chill.
That being said, though, Steven said no, we're not doing it because again, Steven wants it to be a competition. So we're gonna rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
And I'm really hoping that we do not have the same, you know, rock, paper, scissors strategy because it could. What if it just goes on forever, you guys? You know what I mean? Poor Eric Ruby, big hatter. He's going to be forever on the stream. Like, we just need to get through the rock, paper, scissors. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited about this. Are we going on 3, 2? Wait, shoot. We're
It's
going on
on
shoot.
shoot. It's on shoot. On shoot. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. You ready?
Let's go.
Rock, paper,
Rock,
scissors.
scissors, shoot. All right, 1 out of 2. Let's go.
Okay. Rock, paper,
Rock,
scissors,
paper, scissors, shoot. All right.
Okay.
Rock,
Rock,
paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay. One last one, you guys.
Here you go.
Rock,
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, so that's 3 times in a row. I won the first one, so it looks like I am going first. But I'm gonna concede because I want to counterpunch. You can go first. I won. I get to choose. You go first.
This is so unfair.
Yeah,
but you know what?
Yeah, it's competition. That's what we do. Catch you off guard. Let's go. You on the clock? Okay. You on the clock?
Do. Can we get the sound? My first pick is in nonetheless. I'm gonna go with the greatest player in the world right now, A'ja Wilson. So go ahead and cross that off your little list there, Steven.
Both of you to assume I had a list. We freestyle drafts over here. We go off a field. Okay, that's a good pick. Well, I'm going with Stewie. But first of all, you gotta for bookkeeping purposes, you gotta speak a little bit to your picks so that Eric, the man behind the camera, can keep up with what we're doing.
Oh yeah, and you're so right. For me personally, A'ja is a no-brainer. She is the GOAT. She is that girl in every sense of the word. There's nothing she can't do with the basketball. And quite frankly, I have more fun watching A'ja Wilson play basketball than I've ever had in my life. I mean, it's just a good time all the way around. And she's gonna have a shoe. She's gonna have a whole line with Nike. What more can you ask from the GOAT? I mean, I need her on my team.
I hear you. That's a lot of good reasoning behind it. I can't be mad at it at all. And I'm going with Stewie, Breanna Stewart, because it doesn't get any closer to A'ja Wilson than Breanna Stewart. She's had her struggles from deep this season, but her impact quite literally everywhere else has been there in spades, as it's been for her entire career. And she's a player that literally stuffs the stat sheet. Her and A'ja are exchanging jabs on the Team USA circuit with who's scoring the most points, who's grabbing the most rebounds, who's compiling the most assists between those two rather, and who's also playing the most minutes. And you look at those two, and I talk about them being interchangeable, which is such a weapon for Cheryl Reeve to deploy over the course of Olympic play. Look no further than Stewie as the only other feasible option at number 2 if you don't have the first pick. So I'm rocking with Stewie, and I feel like she's going to have a extremely loud post-Olympic stretch heading into the playoffs.
It's okay because you're the next pick. That's the snake here. So I'm excited to hear your second pick.
For sure. I am rocking with the one, the only, Kahleah Copper. Give me Kahleah Copper. She is leading. Well, she's second in the league in scoring. She's flirted with being first in terms of total points as well as in points per game over multiple stretches over the course of the season. Now, naturally, A'ja had a crazy July, while Kahleah also did too. But A'ja's was just a slight bit crazier in terms of her scoring and how it ratcheted up before we stopped play for the All-Star break and then Olympics. So I'm expecting for Kahleah Copper to be fully back in her bag, not unlike she was to start the season, where she was averaging almost 30 points a game and was also doing everything that got her to the point that she is in her career on the defensive end of the floor as well. I think the activity that she has on that end, I think the fact that there's such a demand for her to play the style of play that she showed in July, scoring from all 3 levels, including the 3-point line and pick and roll, as well as in catch and shoots, but also being able to get to the free throw line ad nauseum is something that I think Nate is going to extremely be 10 toes down in terms of imploring for her to continue to play in that space. I think it's something that's going to be a fire starter for this team consistently. And I think she's really going to be showing people that she's an all-W first-team player this season and that she's going to stake some percentage of acclaim in the award that's ultimately going to be A'ja Wilson's this season, which is the MVP award.
I hear you, and I respect the Kahleah Copper pick, and I'm a little bit jealous. That being said, I have a vision here, and at number 2, I'm going to take Alyssa Thomas. And we've talked ad nauseum just this week about Alyssa's versatility, but personally, I'm just thinking of the pick and roll action, and quite frankly, just the pure scoring that could come from the two alone, Alyssa Thomas and A'ja Wilson. And I don't think you could ask for much better from your second round pick. And her facilitation just allows me to fill out the rest of my roster spots with scorers and not really have to worry about a whole lot else. Her defensive pressure brings a lot on to everybody else's game as well. She makes everyone around her like a million times better. So that being said, again, yeah, I'm gonna take Alyssa Thomas.
Okay. I like the AT. That was a somewhat predictable pick, but I think it makes a whole lot of sense. It's inevitable, so I definitely get where you coming from on that. Well, my next pick.
No, you don't get. Wait.
Oh no, you do get
go.
to go.
No, you go. You do go.
It's you. It's you.
Wait, you right? Okay, I'm right. Okay.
Yep.
Number 3. I am going to be rocking with Diana Taurasi. And I have expressed all year that is my GOAT, and I haven't really backed down from it. So I don't really see why I wouldn't draft her. She's one of the best pure shooters in the league, even still right now at her age of 42 years old. And when I have the pieces of A'ja Wilson and Alyssa Thomas around her, they're just going to be putting my girl Diana in positions for success. So 3rd, I'm taking Diana Taurasi.
Yeah, Diana is going to be much needed and much relied upon to, first of all, be available for the team post-Olympic break. That's the biggest piece. But then also delivering and catch and shoot scenarios where she's been, not unlike Kalia Copper, flirting with being the best shooter in the W for multiple stretches from deep this season. On a high volume, by the way. It's not like she's only taking 3 or 4 attempts. She's been north of 7 on consistency this season. So, yeah, Diana filling it up from deep, especially if you're looking at things through a fantasy lens, is something that would definitely help kind of fill up the numbers and kind of give you a jump in certain games too, because she's as potent as anybody and able to catch fire and knock down 5 or 6 in the game at the drop of a dime. So I see you on that pick. My 3rd pick, however, and this is the fun in being in the snake draft, I'm going with 2 bigs. Let me get Napheesa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx, the offense, the defense, everything she means to the team, being a driving force, the leadership. He's having a top 4 season in the W, and you could argue for top 3. You could honestly argue for top 2, and I wouldn't bat an eye at all. She's been that good, and she's the main reason why the Minnesota Lynx have been so far ahead of the curve in terms of where people expected or assumed they would be around the Olympic break and where they actually are, which is being a top 3, top 2 type of team on consistency this season. And I mean, they beat the New York Liberty for the Commissioner's Cup, for crying out loud, which is something that, again, nobody else assumed that they would even, be participating in terms of that championship. Everybody assumed it would have been the Aces and the Liberty, naturally. And the Lynx said, no. But also, the Minnesota Lynx are one of only a few teams that have a win against both the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces this season. And they also have a win against the Connecticut Sun. And Napheesa Collier is a player that's been a driving force in all of that. So Fee being back healthy, being back to truly being herself after having a full offseason to train and get back into game shape and really sharpen her sword in terms of her skills. She's been back and it's been loud, and I expect her to be just as loud, if not even more loud, post-Olympic break. Any thoughts on the Fee pick, my 3rd one?
That was my next pick, so I'm a little bit bitter about it, but that's okay. All things are fluid in this draft, and I'm not really mad about it. I think I know who your next one is, but I'll wait for you to say. I'm excited. You said 2 big, so I'm on the edge of my seat.
I said 2 bigs. I'm rocking with your girl, JJ. Jonquel
I already knew it, my girl.
Yeah,
for real.
Jonquel is having a season. I don't even know where to start on JJ. He's been doing everything for the New York Liberty this season. We talked about it before the last time the PHNX Mercury played the New York Liberty. And Sabrina Ionescu, in my opinion, being the best player on their team this season just because of the growth that she's shown and her ability to shoulder the brunt of more usage to the point where you haven't really felt the absence of Breanna Stewart's missing 3-ball this season because Sabrina's play as a scorer, as a shooter, and as a playmaker, and even as a defender has been just so consistently thorough. She's checked off all those boxes, and it's been in an extremely loud fashion as well. Coming up clutch as well for the team multiple times this season. So that being said, I think Sabrina's the best player on the New York Liberty this season. But I do think that second, which is crazy when you got Breanna Stewart on your team, I do think that second this season has been Jonquel Jones. The shouldering of scoring when Stewie hasn't had it on particular nights, or Sabrina's getting a ton of attention, which she naturally has, was made for this particular tandem to be one of the best pick and roll tandems this season, has been Jonquel Jones being able to score from all three levels on extreme efficiency. Last time I checked, she was at 50, 40, 90 on a fairly high volume of shots, and she's not just taking wide open shots all the time. She's been working in the post. She's been obviously getting attention from deep when she does have the ball. She's been able to put the ball on the deck and score off of the dribble. She's been able to work in isolation with the best of them and score from there as well in the mid post. And defensively, she's just been doing everything as well. And then the other big thing with Jonquel, which has made her so impactful this season, her scoring continues to take strides that we've seen it kind of ascend towards since her last season with the Connecticut Sun, obviously last season with the New York Liberty, and then going into this season. I feel like it's popped a little bit more with the New York Liberty considering the spacing and the shooting within that they have. And Jonquel is just in such a great space right now with her game. I expect for her to also have a very loud post-Olympic stretch.
And while you already know I'm a little envious over that pick, that's my girl, and like that's my friend. You know what I mean? Like we go way back, so I can't believe you did that to me, but that's okay. Because I'm my fourth pick is going to be one for the history books, and it's someone who's dropped a 40 ball. Yeah, they dropped the 40 ball in the Footprint Center this year, and how could I have forgotten and not picked her already? My sincerest apologies, truthfully. And we're going to go Erika Agumbawale. Now, Stephen and I have talked at length a bunch of times, probably 6 times on the show at least this season. Erika is just a walking bucket, and there's really not much else to say there. She can score in any capacity. Doesn't matter who's guarding her, who's around her, how many people are around her. It really doesn't matter. She is gonna get hers.
Yeah, capital B bucket. That's Erika. She's she's her. And as far as I'm concerned, she was the best player on the floor in the Team USA versus All-Star game. So, you know, that speaks for itself. She's the biggest bucket in the league.
That being said, my 5th and final pick, and y'all already know I had to bring the big 2 back on home to, you know, the Valley and bring home Brittany Griner. If Steven's going to take 2 bigs, I'll take 2 bigs. Screw it, we ball. I don't care. BG's my girl. She's been a walking bucket this year. Every time she's in the game, she doesn't miss. She just sees the net. So I can't really complain. And I'd like to throw the caveat that I'd love to draft Olympic level Brittany Griner, where she gets a double-digit rebounds on multiple occasions. That is crazy. If we could just get that often, I would love that. So I'm going to go ahead and make my final pick, Brittany Griner.
I feel it. BG is due for a big post-Olympic stretch as well. We saw the impact that she had immediately upon returning to the lineup, and we also saw how prolific she became in tandem with Kalia Copper, kind of trading blows every other game as the best scorer for the team and just putting the ultimate pressure on opponents. Obviously, with BG, a lot of blocks comes with that as well. I think that's a big pick, literally and figuratively. But for the last pick from me, kind of already talked about it a little bit. I got now 3 New York Liberty players on my team. I'm rocking with Sabrina Ionescu. Erika, can you answer this question for me? There's only one player in the league that's top 6, in scoring and top 5 in assists. Can you tell me who that person might be?
I'm sick. It's Sab, huh?
Sabrina Ionescu, filling up the box score. Also grabbing rebounds in the mix with everything else that she's been doing this season, which is relevant. Naturally being one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, and she's doing that at an extremely efficient clip, knocking down 35.7% of her attempts from deep, and that's 8.3 attempts a game. One of those high-volume 3-point shooters that's knocking them down on efficiency. Sabrina is the fire starter, or she has been the fire starter consistently for the New York Liberty this season. The attention that she garners when she has the ball from deep, her ability to now not just play off of that attention with being elusive, but also being stronger and also having a tighter handle to shoulder the brother the attention that she's garnering and being able to bounce off of contact, even dictate with contact a little bit now. Her trajectory as a player has went a little bit more north and south than it was even just last season, just because of the skill development and the body development that's come with her kind of growing into her own as a professional basketball player. And she's also been getting after it on defense this season. She's averaging a steal a game. And it's not just by happenstance. She's been intentional with being better containing the ball. I'm not going to say she's elite, but she's a lot closer to average, if not slightly above average this season than she was in seasons past. And she also has fell asleep a lot less off the ball too. So yeah, I got Sabrina rounding out my starting five, my top five. And I feel very confident in her also having a loud and disruptive type of post-Olympic stretch, given what we've seen from her on the Olympic stage, and obviously even more so what we saw prior to that with her body of work stateside.
Well, I'm not going to say I think Steven did better than I did because, quite frankly, I would be lying. But that being said, you can decide all on your own and head over to the PHNX_Mercury on Twitter and cast your vote. Let us know who you thought won. The tweet will be right up after the show. And it's really important that you guys choose correctly and we get the real winner, brought back home. Before we go any further, though, we did get another super chat from Melissa. Nothing to ask, just want to say great work, y'all. And I just want to say shout out to Melissa for that because it's been such a fun week. And this show in particular has been really fun to plan. I knew that Steven and I were going to come at each other hard today. And I've been on the edge of my seat all day.
Shout out to Melissa. Always appreciate it, always value. We love everything you do here in Chicago. A special radiating star in her own right. One that actually got a response from Kalia Copper after some things that occurred in the game to end that game, the win ultimately against the Nigerian national team. It was a fun little interaction. I would advise going to kind of check it out because Kai is special and she sees everything. And when she decides to respond, that means she sees you. It's like a little bit of a salute. So shout out Melissa. We appreciate you. Keep being great over here in Chicago.
And then our other good friend of the show, Chris P. Chris P was supposed to come in here and give Steven shit. That was his whole job. And I thought he understood his job. And then he comes in here talking about my love for Dylan Brooks. And I don't appreciate that, you guys. You can't be holding that against me for the rest of my career. We can't do it.
Shout out, Chris. I appreciate you. If y'all didn't know, those are my very close friends, my homies. I love them. I appreciate y'all supporting the show. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Chris, next time you send a super chat, again, we appreciate it. Leave some type of message. You should have tagged the Dylan Brooks comments with the super chat. That would have been funny.
You know what he said? Steven, leave Erika alone. She's always right. Yes. Exactly. Okay. That's what I'm saying, bro. Men named Chris know what's up. Talk to him.
No comment on that. No comment.
Anyways, Steven, where can they find you in the meantime? We got exciting basketball tomorrow morning, and you can follow along with Steven as he breaks down the play-by-play, even though a certain broadcast company might come for our neck if we post a little video or snippet of it. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at StayTrueS.3. You can also find me on YouTube at Steven Prison Garner 3. Always breaking down film, doing all type of stuff. I will definitely have more Mercury content coming before play returns just a week from now, as the team will be here in Chicago going up against the Chicago Sky in the first of 3 matchups post-Olympics / post-All-Star break. So be looking forward to that. We'll definitely be talking about Kalia Copper's crazy, prolific season, talking a little bit about the Mercury and the usage of their zone defense and why I think that'll be effective and important for them in terms of adding another layer to their defense going forward. They've used it more than any other team, and it's been more effective than any other team's zone usage this season. So I think it's something that Nate will lean more into post-Olympic stretch. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, I'll have more content coming on Team USA as they trek forward to another gold medal, looking forward to their 8th in a row.
Absolutely. And you can catch me on Twitter. Listen, we're going to have a really big week next week as a duo, Steven and I. And so if you're not following us on Twitter right now, do it literally right now. It's right below my face. Mine's at Erika Lide. His is StayTrueS.3. And you can follow us both together at PHNX_Mercury. But like I said, big week. I cannot put enough emphasis on big. And so you got to be tapped in with us next week and see what's up. But
Yes, I
until
couldn't
then,
agree more. And I also got one more last thing. For everybody that doesn't already pay attention to just generally using the platform that is Basketball Reference, they do have a WNBA newsletter that they send out. Now, naturally, it's been on pause as they've been overseas tending to another Olympic gold medal. But once they return on a nightly basis, you can sign up to get basically news to your email address every morning, so where you can kind of get an update on everything that happened in the W the night prior. So you can just do a quick, simple Google search. Just type in WNBA Basketball Reference newsletter, sign up there, and you can get that news in your inbox every single morning going forward once we return back to play. Like I said, next Thursday, within less than a week from now.
all right, well, let's do it. Y'all have fun watching the Olympics this weekend. I hope next time we talk to you, it's with 8 golds for Team USA and Diana Taurasi, and I'm really excited to see you guys on Monday.
Happy birthday, Asia.
Oh, yeah.
We all silly like the mayor.